Aloha! Welcome to the Live Ukulele podcast. My name is Brad Bordessa. Today we're jumping into my new single called Eat You. We're going to have a listen, break down the arrangement, talk about the meaning behind it, and just have a good time thinking about some new original music. It's been pretty busy here at Live Ukulele. I feel like I've been sending out email blasts every couple of days. Lots going on. We had a great Zoom workshop on improvising basics, and now my soloing masterclass with Joey Bradley is available. That is a live lesson that I did here in the studio with my friend Joey. He had some questions about improvising, and so got him over here to talk about it. On camera, we filmed the whole thing, and then I edited everything together later. And it came out great. It's a really kind of casual, organic way of presenting a subject that can be kind of intimidating. Like if I was just going to do a talking head video demonstrating improvising, I wouldn't really know where to start. But having Joey here to kind of guide the questions and to ask the things that he wasn't quite understanding, I think really made the process work a lot better. And I like how it came out, and I think that it's going to be fun for people to watch and kind of explore improvising through this little window that Joey and I created. So you can check that out. More in the podcast description. There's a link. Hope y'all can check it out. Live Ukulele is supported by its users, so if you purchase a video lesson or an ebook or something along those lines, that goes directly to help support this free content that I create. But you can also become a supporting member, and supporting members get access to some exclusive content. I just created a page to host some of these exclusive items, and will hopefully be updating it and keeping it fresh with content, but there is a fun photo gallery, some pictures with famous musicians and ukulele people. I collected a bunch of old YouTube videos from around the internet that I didn't even really know they were out there, but just me playing in random situations, random gigs with random people in different performance venues. And then there is a couple of other exclusive videos. There's a workshop, actually the workshop that I did in Freiburg, Germany. I had footage of that kicking around, and so put that up there. And then a couple other unseen as of yet things that I thought people might like to check out. You know, it's not a lot, but it's something to make the supporting membership thing a little bit special. And like I said, I want to be adding to that and creating some stuff. If you have any ideas for fun perks, shall we say, send them my way. You know, what would you like to see? What would be fun for you folks? It's kind of not a lesson, not necessarily anything along the lines of my normal content, but just, you know, something fun, something that is maybe some insider information, behind the scenes kinds of stuff. Just let me know if you have any ideas, and you can find out more about becoming a supporting member in the podcast description, or go to liveukulele.com. You go down to the footer, click support the site. There will be a number of ways that you can support the work that I do and keep great free ukulele content rolling out into the world. Thank you so much for your continued support and for tuning in today. In this episode, I am not so humbly featuring myself. I just released a new song a week or two ago. It's called Eat You. It's now available on all the digital streaming platforms. You can even find it on Instagram and Facebook as a background song for your stories or whatever. Before we get into breaking things down, talking about it too much, I think you should just hear it. So I'm going to edit in the mastered version right here, and then we're going to dive into my Reaper project that I put it all together with, and we can break out some of the individual parts, hear what I'm playing here, there, and how the whole thing comes together as a full completed song. So here we go. This is called Eat You by yours truly.
Oh, cuz, how's all these guys come over here? Best farmers in the world. And then they take the land and then what? They only grow grass.
Aloha kako, welcome to our islands. We hope you enjoy your stay. Do your shopping and notice the labels. 10% say Hawaii grown. Whoa. This discrepancy might pose some minor problems, so buckle up if Matson goes down. I hope that I won't have to eat you, but if the store runs out of food, you're the backup plan for my old pool. Keep an eye out, we've got some land use problems. Plenty hotels, not much ag. Farming's hard, not everyone can afford it, so we have to make ends meet, somehow sorted. I hope that I won't have to eat you, but if the store runs out of food, you're the backup plan for my old pool. I hope that we won't have to eat you, but you arrived here last, so we decide how to portion out your ass. If all goes well, you can go home, but we have to stay right here. Don't forget us, buy local food, and maybe someday we can provide for ourselves.
And no need hunt. All you gotta do is put one traveling hook on one newest iPhone and you drag them through the mall. And guaranteed hop up, bang, bang, bang. And that GMO guy, oh, that guy get plenty. I love get fat on top. So you plenty make the laws taste real good. Yeah, throw him right inside the Christmas tree bag around the hood of the car. Anybody talking anything? Hey, that's extra for the emu. Extra for the emu. I always tell my kids, no, that's not going to stay in the cooler. Yeah, don't worry. When thing ready, I'll let you guys know we can eat. We always have our guests for dinner. Yeah? We have our guests for dinner. Always have our guests for dinner. We whole people over here. We always go, hey Mike, come, we want to have you for dinner. Come and join us. Kiki first, yeah? Kiki first. Smutty, son missing, so don't worry. We removed the vocal cords, so we like to see the wiggle with the disco ball, you know what I mean? On the all moon, yeah? Because pow. Time for the emu. Yeah.
You're the backup plan for my old pool. You're the backup plan for my old pool.
So come to Hawaii, please. Hele mai. We get plenty capacity, and we would love to have all of you for dinner. We want to have you for dinner. Please. Hele mai.
Okay, so the elephant in the room, of course, is, gee, Brad, why would you write a song about cannibalism? Okay? And it's funny, and we tried to put it together. I wrote it as a humorous take on this subject. And Hualalai came in and he did the spoken word stuff in a humorous way. Like we almost didn't get the material because we were laughing so hard as we were recording it. It was hysterical. More on that later. But really, the kind of creation story of Eat You is that here in Hawaii, we have a bunch of people living in the islands, but we've gotten away from agriculture. And you got to eat, you got to have food, and the state has done a really poor job of making farming a feasible outlook for people who are inclined to that lifestyle. It's been a whole lot easier to build hotels and military stuff. That's been a priority. Farming has not. And so we went from, in the age of, just Hawaiians pre-contact in Hawaii, they say that there is, very roughly, of course, rough estimates, but they figured that there was probably around the same amount of people here in Hawaii pre-contact, and there was no outside inputs. So the Hawaiian people were farming a sufficient amount to feed themselves. So these lands were incredibly productive, incredibly fertile, and, if taken care of and maintained well, which they haven't been, but if they were, you could argue that, especially where I live here on the Hamakua coast, is some of the best farming lands in the whole world. You can just grow anything. A lot of what we grow now is invasive weeds. That is a little bit beside the point. So we had the Hawaiian people pre-contact. They were fine. They had plenty of food, plenty of great food. They were nice and healthy. Everything was cherry. And then Captain Cook came, and, they say up to 90% of the native population was killed by foreign diseases that came in. And so we lost a huge, huge majority of the Hawaiian population and a lot of the culture that came with it. Of course, down the road, the culture was suppressed and made illegal, and you shouldn't do that. You should modernize and become a Western citizen, all of that good colonial stuff. And along the way, we had pineapple and sugar plantations because Hamakua, Lanai, West Maui, these areas are fabulous for growing these crops. And so big time, big brain business farm owners, plantation owners came in and realized that you could grow a lot of this stuff very well here. And so they imported a lot of outside workers from China and the Philippines and Portugal and even some Italians. And, that is why Hawaii is this great melting pot, is really because of the plantation work, especially where I'm at here in Honoka'a. We got, just about everybody from anywhere who was looking for work at that time that they brought in to work on the plantations. That's why it's a, fairly integrated place here in Hawaii. And that is part of the pride of modern Hawaiian culture, is having all of these different ethnicities represented in kind of the breakdown of who we are and who is around and, who is just living in your community. But the problem is sugar and pineapple were not necessarily the best way to take care of the land because, nitrogen fertilizers and all of these synthetic inputs that were put into the ground to grow these crops at a greater pace than they might have naturally. It kind of trashed the land and the ability to continue to grow things. A lot of the land here, especially Hamakua, is all sugar land. Not necessarily where I live, because this area was actually kind of spared from the sugarcane, but elsewhere, all you can really grow is weeds. You got to do a lot of work to amend the soil and bring the nutrients back to grow things. So the plantation style of farming really was take from the nutrients that the soil could provide. So a lot of the soil in the area is kind of in bad shape these days. It's been fallow for a long time. But still, it's a lot of work to bring that back. But also, the plantation style of farming has nothing at all to do with the traditional Hawaiian ways of farming, right? Hawaiian style was you interplant, you have lots of different crops going on at the same time. There were minimal weeds, so the maintenance of these crops was super piece of cake. Pull a couple weeds here and there and you're good to go. You mostly just kind of help it grow where you maybe want it to grow, and otherwise it's not a big deal. But nowadays we have so many different invasive weeds that are here and problematic and make it just incredibly difficult to grow anything at all without having it just overtaken by these crazy weeds that will take over any land eventually if given enough time and space and lack of maintenance. Okay, so flash forward a little bit again, and you get into the era of Hawaii being predominantly a tourist destination. The state has, prioritized hotels and visitor attractions, and everything else elsewhere in the world, it became cheaper to grow things outside and to ship them in because the land that we do have is much more valuable as real estate. It is more valuable as real estate because we have chosen to let that happen and to do a poor job of, managing land use and I guess taxes and that kinds of things that would have helped keep the land affordable for farmers. And so now if you want to farm, it's hard to get a loan on a bare piece of land. You got to pay, out of pocket cash to buy any land if you can even afford the sticker price at all. And in my experience, farming people, they're not really into the rat race or the hustle, so they probably don't have a huge amount of capital. They're just cruising, doing their thing, and they just want to plant plants. And so getting into the game is very difficult, even if you want to be a serious farmer. So here we are today, and they estimate that Hawaii imports around 90% of our food. Okay? That means Hawaii grows approximately 10% of our food. 90% comes in from outside. It comes in on a boat. It comes in on a plane. Or we grow 10%. Look at it both ways. Glass half empty, glass half full. I think it's mostly half empty. I think it's mostly empty. Just nothing left. So anyways, we have this huge discrepancy in what we need and what we produce. And part of that, another thing that came with the land prices is the Western sense of having availability to, or having everything available to you, right? In Hawaii, anywhere in the world, you have mango season. It's mango season. The tree drops, 40,000 mangoes, boom, 40,000 pounds of mangoes on the ground during a month or two. And then it's done for the rest of the year. That's mango season. You eat mangoes until you're sick, and then you're glad to not eat mangoes for the rest of the year because they aren't available. And that's just how growing things happens. Apples are not in season all year long. Avocados are not in season all year long. Any fruit kind of thing that you eat is not in season all year long. It has a growing season, and then it's harvested and stored, or it's grown elsewhere in the world and probably stored elsewhere in the world, and then brought here to Hawaii so that we can have it whenever we want throughout the year. So a lot of times you come to Hawaii, you go to the store, and because of the food supply chain and big box stores not necessarily wanting to deal with small-time farmers, you end up with mangoes from Mexico because Mexico can produce and store and provide mangoes for the market kind of year-round. And if Mexico doesn't have, well, somebody else maybe in the southern hemisphere does, and you import from there. So you end up with this low-quality produce that comes from all around the world and is brought here throughout the year because we've gotten used to having access to everything all the time. And if you're not a farmer, maybe you don't realize that mangoes are only in season a small bit of the year, and then you eat something else. That's just the way planting and food works. It's just how it is. Just, the supply chain has been set up so that there is a buffer on the off season and you can have a lower quality product in the store year round. And so that's kind of another part of how we ended up here is we've gotten used to eating things year round. We want to always have mangoes ready, even if it's not mango season. And so that supply chain is easier to establish on a much larger scale and to sustain on a much larger scale rather than Safeway dealing with, me and my mango tree on my property. If my mango tree is going off at one time in the year, they're not going to switch to buying mangoes from me when they have this whole supply chain set up that'll keep them in mangoes all year round. Okay, so huge discrepancy in Hawaiian agriculture. That is the bottom line. And the bottom line is that the hard reality of this is that if there was an interruption in the supply chain, we would be 90%, probably not quite that much because that 90% that is imported includes, I expect, everything. And we could get by with just rice and beans if we had to. But it still puts us very, very short on the amount of mouths that we could feed just off of the land here in Hawaii. All right. And this is an incredibly depressing prospect because the whole entire state for the past 120 years, 125 years, it's been set up like this, and steps have been made along the way. Choices have been made to de-emphasize the importance of agriculture. And so people say we're supporting agriculture. That's mostly just lip service from everything I've seen. Yes, there are people doing great work, absolutely, but it's more on a local level from what I've seen. There's not a lot of trickle down coming from the state, not in the big picture at least. So it's this terribly depressing thing, and the only alternative to crying about it is laughing about it. So that's why I wrote this song, to highlight this huge discrepancy in what we grow here in Hawaii and what we import and how many people we actually could support on our own. And the fact of the matter is, when you run out of food, you start thinking about eating people. And so that's where the idea of the song came from, as I thought, that's just far enough out, that's just dark enough, that's kind of funny. And the more and more I've worked on the song and continued writing verses, it's just gotten more funny. Even though I've heard it 1,000 times at this point, it just gets more and more funny. And I'm happy that other people who hear the song also seem to think that it gets more and more funny. And the more people who know about the song, and kind of everybody feeds off of each other. Oh, did you hear Brad's song? And a lot of that is from my friend Hualalai, who did the spoken word. Okay, so let's get into the inner workings of the song itself, right? Backstory is out of the way. We know how we got here now. Joey Bradley, who is in the soloing masterclass that I'm just releasing, he called me up one day and was like, hey, let's hang out. Why don't you come up to my studio and I will record you? We can record something, just whatever, just you can have, because I'm so used to recording myself and thinking about the tech side and the music side. He's like, just come play some stuff and I'll handle, pressing the buttons. It's like, great. So I brought this song up there and played it. And that day we did a vocal. It's not this same vocal, but we did a vocal and we did the ukuleles. Okay. So what that sounded like kind of at the end of the day when we had that down was something like this. I'm going to play the bass part too. So I'll put the bass part in there as well. Okay. And if you listen to the ukuleles, there's two ukuleles. There's the Mobera, my normal spruce top that I play for a lot of things. I don't think I had the ulu one yet at this point. But just a basic rhythm part, just strumming some chords. And then Joey had a great baritone ukulele hanging on the wall. I was like, can I play that? Like, yeah. So I did kind of like an arpeggio picking part. And so the two ukuleles, you have like a high ukulele and a low ukulele. And together they kind of work to fill out the sound in a really nice way. They don't really step on each other too much. And so that's the rhythm section. And then on top of that, I sang that I won't have to eat you. And then I also did background vocals, if I think. But if the store runs out of food, you're the backup plan for my old pool. Keep an eye out. We've got some land use problems. So that's basically what I had at the end of that day, was just this kind of bare bones acoustic track. And over the next few months, I started adding things to it to see. Recording's a process where you kind of like, it's like being an archaeologist. You have this song, but you don't really know what it is yet. You know the basic idea, you know what you think you have, but then you start adding tracks and you add a little bit here and you add another little bit something there. And it just becomes more and more complex as it goes along. It tends to be. So, it was really a delight to lay this song down, to have the basic track, but then to also explore and see what was happening beyond what we already had done. I didn't feel like it was completed yet, so I wanted to add some more stuff. Okay, and I think the first thing that I threw in there was the steel guitar. Okay, and I'll put the steel guitar with all of the ukuleles as well. And I'm not really a steel guitar player. But I knew that I kind of wanted to have a SpongeBob, really kind of corny sound. And to capture that, what might be thought of as like paradise vibe. People think of steel guitar, they think of Hawaii, and it's very touristy. And kind of the point of this song is that the tourists are on the receiving end of the food chain, right? So I wanted to really ham up the steel guitar-ness of the steel guitar part. And I'm not much of a steel guitar player, so this is really mini takes that are kind of comped together. I'm better now, but at the time I wasn't too much of a player. So that's a lot of editing that went into this part, but it still sounds cool and really brought everything to life. And then to round out the rhythm section, I played a shaker. Just a little bit of texture, a little bit of high end to kind of drive things along. And I'm not much of a shaker player either, but it does add enough that I wanted to keep it. So everything kind of works together. I mean, that's the whole point, right? But you don't often get the opportunity to hear things separated out like this. So, you have just the ukuleles. And this lead ukulele is kind of plays it's like a tag of the melody, sort of, kind of, in the chorus. But if the store runs out of food, you're the backup plan for my opoo. And then the baritone is just supporting. But that main ukulele, the tenor ukulele, is definitely holding some lead stuff, but it's like in a solo style. So like what you would play if it was just you and an ukulele singing is kind of how I played that part. But if we start looking at the vocals, aloha kako. You have the lead,
Welcome
of course.
to our islands. We hope.
And then actually my brother came
enjoy your stay
to sing a double. We skip ahead.
I hope that I won't have to eat you.
My brother was actually so so back up a little bit. My friend Ryan, when I first sent the recording to him, he was like, it's great, but I think it needs like maybe some spoken word stuff to kind of lighten the mood so it doesn't feel quite as so serious. It's a little bit more casual and goofy. I was like, yeah, that's a great call, because I was thinking back to like Sister Roby's Pi'imai Kanalu came to mind, where there's like the Brada man talking about surfing in the beginning and in between. And like that felt right. That felt like the thing to do. And then I think I told my friend Dagan about that, and he was like rapping one day, just goofing off at a gig we were playing at. I was like, yeah, like that's the vibe, like just putting on the kind of the over corny pigeon accent and saying all kinds of funny off the wall stuff. I was like, I wish I had a microphone. I could just record you while you're going off here. That would have been great. And then my brother was around, and so I had him come listen to the song. I was like, you want to? My brother's super funny and super witty and quick, with like, banter and fast humor. He's always got like the most awesome things that he's got great comebacks and stuff. So he's totally got the mind for that. So I was like, you want to try and put some spoken word down on it? He did some stuff. It didn't quite have the charm that I was looking for. But while he was here, like, you want to just like sing the vocal with me? And so
I hope that I won't have to eat you.
Like that's him in the background.
But if the store runs out of food,
just to fatten up the vocal sound.
Backup plan for my opoo.
And then we have some harmonies.
I won't have to eat you. But if the store runs out of food, you're the backup plan for my opoo.
And I'm not Freddie Mercury. I'm not singing like a million parts in perfect tune. They're a little rough, but I felt very much with this song that it didn't need to be perfect. And that the charm was, here's this song about this horrible subject presented in a lighthearted way. You can't be super anal about getting all the parts exactly right. That's not the feel. And I think that would have came through if I got super duper hung up on playing everything perfectly in time. It kind of is what it is. And it's a little bit rough around the edges. And I like that. I think that is appropriate for this kind of a song. So that's what it is. And then to cap it all off, I had my friend Hualalai come over. It's like, hey, dude, I'm working on this song. I think you'll think it's hilarious because I've known H for a long time. And it's like, I had certain people in mind when I was working on this song. I didn't feel like I was alone in the humor or in the production or in thinking that this was funny at all. I was like, I know very clearly some people in my head that I'm like kind of making the song for almost. Like they're going to think this is absolutely hysterical. And I'm making it for them because that's, I live in my own little messed up brain and I have this funny sense of humor, this weird sense of humor. But I don't feel like I'm alone in this place. And so Hualalai was definitely one of the people that I had in mind. So I was like, I got to share the song with you. Come over sometime. I think it might have been actually when he came over to do the podcast that I also played him the song and we tracked this. And he listened to the song one time through. He thought it was hilarious. I wasn't worried about that part. But then we plugged in the mic. I was like, do you want to just like go nuts on top of it? Just like off the top of your head, say funny things and, you know, kind of like almost like a musician's version of a React video. I was like, just go nuts and see what you come up with. And he did one pass. That's all we could manage. And he got to the end. Like, I don't think you could do it any better because it was so funny. I was like laying on the floor, laughing, trying not to, you know, ruin the take as he was doing this in the mic. And I've edited the part so that it kind of fits with the timing of the song and the presentation of the song. But I'm forever grateful that Hualalai was the guy to do this and was able to capture such a raw moment of just going off and having a great time. And I think I'm going to post up the unedited audio probably to my supporting members page, because that is some really super duper raw behind the scenes kinds of stuff. But yeah, it was just hysterical. This is Hualalai's part.
And no need hunt. All you gotta do is put one traveling hook on one newest iPhone and you drag them through them all. And guaranteed, hoppa, bang, bang, bang. And that GMO guy, that guy get plenty. I love get fat on top. So get plenty. Make the laos taste real good. Yeah, throw him right inside the Christmas tree bag, right on the hood of the car. Anybody talk anything? Hey, that's extra for the emu. Extra for the emo. I always tell my kids, last uncle was staying away cooler. Yeah, don't worry. When the thing ready, I'll let you guys know we can eat. We always have our guests for dinner. Yeah? We have our guests for dinner. Always have our guests for dinner. We all keep over here. We always go, hey, Mike, come. We want to have you for dinner. Come and join us. Kiki first, yeah? Kiki first. Small T, some missing, so don't worry, we removed the vocal cords, so we like to see the wiggle with the disco ball, you know what I mean?
That's my very favorite part of the whole thing right there. He goes, we like to see the wiggle with the disco ball, you know what I mean? And I have no idea what he means, and I'm sure no one else in the world except Hualalai knows exactly what he means, and it's that much funnier because of that.
We like to see the wiggle with the disco ball, you know what I mean? On the Ole moon, yeah? Because pow, time for the emu, yeah.
So that's with the vocals off, so you can hear a little bit clearer. You're the backup plan for my
So come to Hawaii, please. Helemai, we get plenty capacity, and we would love to have all of you for dinner. We want to have you for dinner. Please. Helemai.
I think that's going to go on a t-shirt. I was thinking about making a very small limited run of t-shirts and say on the t-shirt, we want to have you for dinner. And then just put eat you on the other side or something. Still working on that part, but it sounds like a good idea. And I know plenty of people who would really wear that a lot. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole mix. That's how it came together. And then, you know, once it's done, once all the parts are in and you have the whole thing.
Yeah, don't worry. When the thing ready.
You're the backup plan. You know, I got to that point, and then after that, once it's all mixed to there, then you send the song usually to a mastering engineer who does the last little bit of polish. And, you know, mastering's kind of interesting because it really takes what you have, and usually it brings it up a couple notches in quality, because the mastering engineer, their job is to have a critical listening environment, a well-treated room, or just tons of experience to kind of put the final balance on what you have and to make sure that it's, you know, going to sound good on a range of different speakers, and do some of the final processing, bring it up to level, apply a little bit of extra compression, that kinds of stuff. and it's kind of a personal thing, like the sound of the mastering engineer and what they bring to the song. And I knew like this is supposed to be a raw song. This is not supposed to be super duper slick or polished. And while I was working on it, I was kind of thinking like, Kaulana Napua era Peter Moon, like that sort of sound, that sort of vibe, just rough, just like good music coming through the speakers, that kind of a thing. And so I knew that I wanted to get the song mastered by somebody here in Hawaii who had a lot of experience in the industry. So I started, looking through my CDs and like, okay, I love the sound of this, and looking for names. And then I don't know, I for some reason thought to listen back to Raiatea's new album, Songs and Strings, Volume 1, Strings and Songs, something like that. It's wonderful, and it sounds so good, and it was mastered by Dave Tucciarone, and I'm assuming that's how you pronounce his last name. I'm not sure. Call him my Dave if that's not right. But that sure looks like an Italian last name to me, from one Italian to another. And he won a Hoku, I believe, for his engineering work on that project. And I thought it sounded so good. It's like, that's great. So I sent him a note. It's like, hey, would you, do you do one-off mastering for random people who have not won Hokus? He was like, yeah, sure, send the song over. And so he worked on the song and he mastered it. And I think it's absolutely fabulous. It came back sounding way better. It had kind of the touch, the natural sound that I was hoping for. And I think he did a really great job. And best of all, he said he had fun working on it, which was a little bit of a concern, because you take something that's such a pet project, such a specialized, localized, weird kind of song, and you send it off to somebody else. They're getting paid for their work to master it, but are they going to enjoy it? Are they going to get it? And for some reason that felt like an important thing to me. It was like, God, I hope I can work with somebody who like gets the song and like sees the fun in it. And it sounds like Dave had a nice time working on it. And so that warms my heart. And now it's out. It's available on most of the digital streaming platforms. It's up on Bandcamp. Bandcamp sends me the largest chunk, but either way, like $1.29. So whatever it ends up being. Mostly I just want people to hear it and to be more aware of the situation and to realize that when you come to Hawaii, yes, it is all the things that they tell you on the can, but it's also a lot of other things that you're probably less aware of. And one of them is that the tourism industry has vastly kind of eclipsed the agriculture industry and our ability to provide for ourselves if something were to happen. Okay, so if you made it this far, my applause goes out to you. I appreciate it. I have an ask. Okay, I put the song up on Facebook. I made a little music video. Went down to Kauai Harbor with Hualalai. Like, we'll go when the barge is there. Even according to you look at the schedule of the barge, and it's like this very strict thing. Like, Mauna Loa is going to be there at this time and this date and this time, and Young Brothers is going to be here this time, this date. And so it's like, great, we'll go Friday morning and we'll go check it out. It always comes in Friday morning. Of course, Friday morning was the one day that it wasn't there. So we're like sitting at Kauai, like, whoa, I wonder where the barge is, which is like perfectly fitting, right? Perfectly fitting. And so I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. We'll just hang out. And I set up a camera and we sat there on the edge of the water, as you can see in the music video. And that's all it is. I wanted it to be simple. Everything along the way has been simple with this song. I just want the message to kind of speak for itself. Anyways, that music video went up onto Facebook. It's also on YouTube. But if you're on Facebook, if you're inclined, especially if you're in Hawaii, if you have any hookups, if you have any groups or pages that are relevant, agriculture related, Kanaka stuff related, I would super appreciate it if you would share it and try and get it out there, because I feel like it's gotten some attention and some love, and I super appreciate that already. But I feel like it hasn't quite cracked into the crowd that I was hoping to get it in front of. And I think that's just, word of mouth, coconut wireless kind of a thing. So if you have connections and you are so inclined, if that fits who you are and feels like a genuine kind of thing that you would think is appealing, something to share, I would super appreciate it. I'll put a link in the podcast description. Otherwise, go check out Live Ukulele with Brad Bordessa on Facebook, and you'll find it in my videos. Mahalo nui for that kind of support and just for sticking around to this point. I'm the artist, so I love this song. But just as far as my catalog goes, I feel like this one finally has captured, I think, the kind of tone that I've been hoping to achieve for a long time. For a long, long time. Like we grew up listening to people like Jack Johnson and John Cruz, and these guys, they write these beautiful songs that are like upbeat and fun, and they're not just a bummer. And like I hang out with my band guys, and specifically Ryan, because he's a songwriter too, and we commiserate like how do you possibly in this day and age write like an upbeat, positive, fun sort of song? How is it not just all a bummer, especially living here in Hawaii? And maybe you want to write activism songs, but how do you do it without just being a bummer? And I kind of feel like with Eat You, I sort of cracked the code a little bit. Like, well, it's still a bummer, but it's presented in a fun way that makes it kind of fun and kind of happy. It's like this ironic opposite kind of presentation. And so I'm really, really proud of kind of getting to that point and feeling like as an artist, I've arrived at a point where I can at least create one song like this that hopefully has a message that can resonate with people, inform, even if it just informs a couple of people. I'd be super stoked. Yeah. But that's basically the story of Eat You, a highly personal podcast presentation today. Go check it out. Favorite it, like it, share it, whatever you do, listen to it, play it for your dog, play it for your friends. I don't care. I just hope that it brings some joy, some fun to the world. And especially in Hawaii, if it were to become like kind of an underground cult classic for Aina-based movements, I wouldn't be too bummed about that either. So, yeah. All right, so that's enough about that. Thanks for sticking around to the end. My name is Brad Bordessa, and you're listening to the Live Ukulele podcast. Podcast is published every first and third Saturday, but we only have one more episode this year before I take a break in November and December. We'll be back here at the beginning of January. That'll be January 4th next year. But one more episode. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe so you don't miss out what's coming up in the next episode and in the next season. Probably going to be changing things up a little bit. And I dare say, I think I might use Eat You, like an instrumental version, of course, as the new intro song for the podcast. See how many people are really paying attention. Yeah, just because it's a good vibe. Even if the song is not your cup of tea. Hopefully you can appreciate the instrumental vibe that the rhythm section provides. All right, I'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, be well out there. Plant a garden if you can. That's the best thing to do. Good for the soul. Play in the dirt. Yeah. Get all those microbes on your skin. That makes for happy people. All right, I'll catch y'all later. Hui hoi.